Nicole, come on.
That's not Chanel.
I know I'm not checking the box.
Bring it back by tomorrow.
Thought you said it would be 2 days.
Because you said Chanel.
Breaking my heart. What's wrong?
Alexa.
Got something for you. Take it.
What is it?
It's a professional film camera.
No way.
Yes, sir.
It's a real Lolo? Where'd you get it from?
I had to search all over.
Wow. Thank you very much. You and the mom were expecting me.
I'm sorry, I was putting out some fires. Here's the manual. Okay?
Where should I tell Mom?
Tell her she has no love. Go on, get out.
Okay.
I remember when we went into the third bed, the heat, almost covered in sweat, barely able to keep hold of the nozzles, and Alexei throws off his fire suit, strips down to his boxers, and puts on his sunglasses, then drenches the drywall with buckets of water from the pool, making a rainbow. All for the eyes of Lanka from HR who was watching him out of the window.
Say over that never happened. We were awarded a prize and he was promoted to captain.
Alexei, I envy you as a man. I envy your freedom, your rebellious soul. Nothing scares you. You do what you want and answer no. Well, good luck to you. Cheers.
Appreciate it, sir.
Alexei, you guys know.
Be right back.
Why aren't you eating?
I'll eat after, I swear.
Stop filming me.
You stop trying to stop me.
That film camera isn't close.
It is not an idea. I'll get it, okay? Oh, it's Santa!
Look at you. So cute. It's so nice to see you.
Are you drunk?
Go out and play. Mom, I'm going like this way from you. It's not up to me. Go outside. Fine.
Pabukalin sa nag-report ka magputang. Isa lang ang lutuan.
If I come with
Dalawang kaunon.
it.
Isa lang. Magkakaroon ka. Balik. Before ka mag-ano, bigay pina, magbukal. Itaklog. Kung ka nag-urusan para ma-remind ka. Ha? I-full na siya niya. Dapat gawin na ito na tubig. Ito ay ani. Ay, kini magbukal. Bukal ko din yung daan ng noodles. Sumutin, hindi mag-ano. Bukal.
I was so afraid.
Before ka magbutang sa noodles, pabukalan mo dyan ng tubig. Ha?
So, I'm leaving. Forgive. I'm gonna stay here. I'm bilingual for specialist. I'm wasting my time. Come with me.
Don't.
Oh. Let's go. I've seen a lot of places. Together.
We waited for you.
countries, including Iran. Nationwide protests there against a cost of living crisis are ramping up, and President Trump has warned that Iran will get hit hard by the U.S. if protesters are killed. CNN's Paula Hancock has the latest.
A female protester is dragged from a street in Tehran. Demonstrators run for cover as gunfire is heard in Malek Shahi, a city in Iran's western Ilan province. It is a familiar and brutal response to nationwide protests, now in their second week. The Iranian currency is collapsing, inflation rising, and the cost of living becoming hard to bear. Shopkeepers, traders, and students on the streets blame government mismanagement. Officials say publicly they are willing to talk.
The government is trying to be more amenable to dialogue. President Pezeshkian has offered to mediate and engage. He's acknowledged responsibility.
But as the president offers dialogue, the security forces are cracking down, attacking protesters holed up in this hospital in Ilan. Social media footage shows forces inside looking for injured protesters and those trying to hide. The US State Department said, quote, "The assault on the injured with tear gas and live ammunition is a blatant crime against humanity." The US president has already threatened to step in if protesters are killed.
We're watching it very closely. When they start killing people like they have in the past, I think they're going to get hit very hard by the end.
A move against the Iranian regime that Israel's prime minister has been encouraging.
Actions or statements raised by figures such as the Prime Minister of the Zionist regime or some radical American officials regarding Iran's internal affairs amount, under international norms, to nothing more than incitement to violence, incitement to terrorism, and incitement to killing.
US military attacks on Venezuela over the weekend and the capture of President Nicolas Maduro will be watched closely in Tehran.
I think Venezuela adds, I think, to a really clearly baked cake for Iran. The Islamic Republic has learned the hard way that President Trump is unpredictable.
Although the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, does still have some support, there are increasing calls for his removal both inside and outside the country. Paula Hancock, CNN, Abu Dhabi.
We're closely watching yet another country that Trump is now threatening, Iran. There's video here on the screen of anti-government protests today. What you're looking at are the protests themselves. There were gas canisters thrown. Protesters were clashing with security forces. Trump threatening that the U.S., in his words, is locked and loaded if Iran kills protesters. Rights groups saying at least 29 people have been killed since protests began last week over economic fears. Up front now, retired four-star General Joseph Votel, commander of U.S. Central Command during Trump's first term. And General, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to speak with you again. President Trump has warned Iran, and I'll read the full quote, "We are locked and loaded and ready to go if Iran kills protesters." Now, as of tonight, General, human rights groups say that 29 protesters are dead. So what do you think happens here?
Yeah, thanks, Sharon. It's great to be with you again. Well, I think that the president certainly is using the informational element of national power here to send a message to the Iranian people, to the Iranian regime. I think that is what he's definitely focused on. He's trying to send a message to the regime. There are a wide variety of options that the United States can consider here. I don't know what the specific threshold is that the administration has in mind for deaths on the ground, but again, there are a variety of different options, everything from deploying to, the established posture and deterrence to actually conducting strikes, to providing support for opposition elements, to sharing intelligence with some of our partners, or conducting maybe cyber or covert operations to make things more difficult for the regime. So there's lots of options that the president has, and I think right now we're using the informational element of power here to put a lot of pressure on the regime.
And I know, General, you're laying out a lot of options that make a lot of sense. Of course, we're in a world that's very shaken now by what just happened to Maduro, and obviously during during the operation last summer, you know, in Israel, it said they could take out the supreme leader. They didn't, but then, you know, he was hiding in the bunker, right? You got to now put on the table of, has the whole game changed? Has the red lines moved? Could something happen here of taking out the supreme leader or taking out the president of Iran? I mean, do you think such a thing is on the table for the president?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what all the options are, but certainly I think going after key leaders would probably be something that at least would be discussed in a wide variety of military options. I think the one thing that I think is important for people to appreciate is that while we've just seen a stunning military operation down in Caracas by our Special Operations Forces, expertly executed with a high degree of precision and success, every situation really presents its own challenges. So trying to do what was done in Caracas, there's an element of, you know, an aggravated element of difficulty trying to do something like that in Tehran. So, you know, you have to look at the situation on the ground here and try to match the military options to the situation and the effects that we're trying to create.
Your perspective, sir.
And this goes the warm embrace the night. We swing till tomorrow night. In my late night serenade, I'm still alive.
Donald Trump says he wants to run Venezuela.
We're going to run the country.
But after 1 year back in office, most Americans think he's doing a poor job of running this country.
In a new PBS News NPR Marist poll, 57% of respondents say they disapprove of the job the president's doing on the economy. 36% think he's doing a good job.
Over the last few days, we've seen something extraordinary take place. We've seen the United States invade a country, grab its leader as well as his wife, grab Nicolas Maduro, the leader of Venezuela, bring them to the United States where they're to be tried on a pre-existing indictment for drug trafficking. The Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, talks about Maduro or Venezuela effing around and finding out.
Nicolas Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't. He effed around and he found out.
The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, brags that he will face the wrath of American justice. But for all of the hyperbole, what took place? What just happened? Why did it happen? And where does the country go forward from here? So let's take a look at the run-up to this military action. For weeks and weeks, the Trump administration has been amassing forces in the region, bringing in the largest aircraft carrier in the world, bringing in thousands and thousands of American service members, and blowing up ships that were leaving Venezuela. Blowing up ships and killing those on board, including 2 survivors of the very first attack on September 2nd. Something that is, I think, without question, a violation of the laws of war. All of this was being done, ostensibly, at least according to the administration, for the purpose of stopping drugs coming into the country. The president repeatedly talked about each ship that comes to the country from Venezuela, each of these drug boats costing the lives of 25,000 Americans, as if those boats were filled with fentanyl.
Every boat we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives.
Fentanyl doesn't come from Venezuela. Cocaine comes from Venezuela. And what's more, the cocaine coming from Venezuela, by and large, doesn't come to this country. It goes elsewhere. But nevertheless, the reason given for blowing up these ships was to attack Venezuela and its drug trade. But what we have learned since is that this wasn't really about drugs. Now, how do we know this wasn't really about drugs? Well, for one thing, Donald Trump just pardoned the former president of Honduras, this guy. That's Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, who was indicted and prosecuted in the United States for bringing in tons and tons of cocaine to this country as part of a vast cocaine smuggling conspiracy. Donald Trump pardoned him, pardoned this former drug-running president of a country in the same hemisphere, and now claims that we were going to embark on this military campaign, this campaign of blowing ships out of the water because of drug trafficking by a different president. It just doesn't pass the smell test. And what's more, those boat strikes alone were illegal and unconstitutional. Tim Kaine, myself, Republican Rand Paul, brought 2 resolutions, war power resolutions, before the U.S. Senate, forced a vote. And while the vote ultimately failed, the vote to stop the use of force against these ships or against Venezuela, they were nonetheless bipartisan votes and came close to passage. This week, Tim Kaine, Rand Paul, and I will be calling for a vote on yet another war powers resolution that says no to the further use of American military force in Venezuela, that says it is not worth placing our service members' lives at risk to secure oil in Venezuela. That is not what this country is about or should be what it's about. After all, there are effective ways of dealing with drug smuggling, apart from blowing up ships and killing people, and that is interdicting ships, arresting those, prosecuting those responsible. Indeed, that has been for many, many years. Nevertheless, the administration insisted this was all about drugs. They insisted this was not about regime change. After all, this was a president who campaigned on ending foreign wars, not engaging in new ones.
They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
And certainly not engaging in nation building in nations that he said we barely understood. So what was this all about if it wasn't about drugs? It won't surprise you to learn it was about oil. It was about oil. Regime change for the purposes of securing oil resources. You don't have to take that from me. Take that from the President of the United States. Here's Trump.
We want to surround ourselves with energy. We have tremendous energy in that country. It's very important that we protect it. We need that for ourselves. We need that for the world.
So we need the oil for ourselves, the president claims. He also says that American oil companies are going to go back into Venezuela. Chevron has been there, but he's going to send in other American oil companies to exploit that oil. Here he is.
We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country.
Now, in order for American companies to exploit those oil resources, they're going to have to be there for years and years. It may take decades to rebuild the oil infrastructure in Venezuela. And by the way, Venezuela is home to the largest oil reserves in the world. This is obviously key to Donald Trump's interests.